On Tuesday, I had to make an arrangement with my students. So on a Tuesday, I was informed in an email that I had to give them a quiz on Wednesday. So I was in class with them when I got the email, and I told them as soon as. And I said, so tomorrow you'll get this practice quiz. Now, it's stuff you've already done, but you're going to get it and it's going to count. I'll give it to you tomorrow so that on Thursday, which is the last day of the school week, you will at least be able to start your weekend knowing that you finished it. Thursday, you're going to have a practice essay. It will not be for a grade, but I'm going to give you feedback. You will know what you need to fix before the second test, which is going to be Monday of next week. You'll have to write an essay on Monday in your second departmental test, and you'll have a speaking test, the two most difficult and the two parts of the exam that are worth the most points. They already knew about the test coming up. It was the practice quiz they found out about suddenly with me. The practice essay was something about which they already knew. So I told them on Tuesday when I found out, tomorrow, make sure your laptops are charged. Make sure the testing software is installed on them and working. Make sure you bring in headphones and don't bring in those ear pods y'all like to bring in. Big man walked in and then, true to form, asked to do exactly what it is and we don't let them do during quizzes or tests. To use his phone to call his brother to get the password to install the testing software to take the test. The quiz, I mean. I told him, you just failed. You did right there, you failed. You're supposed to bring in your own laptop. If you had to borrow his for this, then you're supposed to have it installed already. I didn't screw this up. You did. Now, BGS uploaded The Dust is Spreading. Shout out to him. And that was very pertinent for him to upload. The Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Hurricane Edward Allen Anderson of the New Greater Zion Valley Lamb Precious Lamb, oh Lord, hold my mule while I shout. Golden Monument of Hope Faith Tabernacle, Holy Bright Morning Star. In the countryside, on a hillside, in the morning time. Missionary Baptist Temple of We Don't Tolerate no misandry from these broads incorporated. Alluded to what BGS was talking about, how this miniseries, Adolescence, is now taking what the manospheres, the white one and the black one, have known for a while and are putting this out in the mainstream. And this is necessary because you know what? We don't give a rat's behind if what's been going on between men and women has been going on from the time of Adam and Eve. Peace be to him. Or if you believe in some sort of evolution and it's been going on ever since there have been primates, whichever one of these you believe, we do not accept that it has to be the way that it is now, where the men are supposed to sit up here and chase down bills and responsibilities to take care of for the rest of their lives and then feel like they're still worthless. And this is inculcated. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It doesn't matter how natural these women think it is, even though in the natural world, females do approach males for mating at times. No matter what they think it is not stuck in stone. And women don't want certain flexibilities to be questioned by us or to be pointed out by us. They don't want us to start analytically thinking about this stuff, which is why it is that Esther Villar wrote that book, The Manipulated Man. She knew what it was. She understood it. And the women beat her up because they knew what it was. Let me get this straight. I can sit back and get my living earned for me by a man by simply pretending like I'm just not that concerned with him. And that's all I got to do. And as long as I hide the fact of my interest in men in general from my brothers, my father, and from men in general, as long as we all agree to this, we get to sit back and wait on men to come to us. And if it's a traditional society, dad and brother still do the vetting, which they should do. But the reality is that dad and the brother really, when they start to realize their own value, they start saying, you know what, we should go and start looking for the man for you. You can't vet him yourself if you like him. You can't vet him if you dislike him right off the back. You could dislike him for a good or bad reason. It could go either way. But you know what? We'll go and find a good one for you. Because we understand their value. And really, just like we should not have to chase down a chick and impress her dad and her brother to let us pay her bills the rest of her life. Same thing applies to you, sis. Even if I love you as a sister, even if I love you as a daughter, if we understand this, then why should a man come knock on our door and then try to impress us to let him pay your bills so long as you may both shall live? Are you going to initiate anything in life that he actually likes consistently? Or are you going to set the tone to where he must initiate everything and you're only going to initiate something if he doesn't like it? Shopping sprees, expensive vacations, and then ultimately divorced and custody battles. Oh, yeah, it gets deep. That's really what's at the core of all of this. Certain things they don't want us questioning. And I'm telling you what happened with my students for a particular reason. See, BGS is talking about, and largely in the context of this going from a non-mainstream context of awareness to a mainstream level of awareness and a largely English-speaking context. And what I wanted to tell you is that this is actually happening even outside of the English-speaking world to a certain extent. Now, Adolescence is on Netflix, so it's going to happen again in the States. It's going to happen in the UK. It's going on in Australia, New Zealand, but you know what? Spain, Italy, Israel, they're going to have these talks. They already are. You know what? There's already the word simp used amongst Arabs here. They don't have a plural form for it, but they just use the singular for the plural. They use it as an adjective, really, so it's not a counted noun, but they got it. Whore, even though in Arabic that has to do with freedom, they use the word coming from English when they're talking about the gender conflict to mean a loose woman. And they have a plural form for it. Now, the plural is different from free people. Ahrar is the plural for free people. Hawar is the plural for loose women. And so there's a slight difference in how they would spell it. I want y'all to understand, though, that this is happening, that certain discussions are going on even here in both languages. You guys must understand that the family dynamics are changing even here. Why do you need to understand that? Well, it's real simple. See, I've told you before, you need to be in touch with guys of different cultures. Let them know what's coming down the pike. It's good to be buddies with men of different cultures, the black ones and the non-black ones. So you can tell them what the hell is coming down the pike. You know how deep the rabbit hole is going to go if they keep digging, and they'll know how to stop it from getting that way. Because you see, while the manosphere's awareness is spreading faster between English speakers, that to which the manosphere is a reaction is spreading very quickly across linguistic barriers and cultural barriers. You got women in China can't say a mother cuss word sentence in English, and they got the same materialism and the same nasty ways as the chick in Baltimore. Paternity fraud, runaway materialism, obsession with their own looks. They're not secure. They're very insecure, yet they still have an inflated ego when it comes down to them in comparison to men. So they don't have security. They feel insecure. They just still feel like they're superior to men. Does that not sum up the Westernisha? But you got chicks in China that have been this way since the 90s. Even when they go to the cities in which the women outnumber the men, they still act like this. You go into the villages, and that's where it's pretty much nothing but men and only a few women. And you got dudes that feel like they're lucky to get a single mom who doesn't know who the dad is. And they're charging exorbitant dowries to get married. And their families are going to try to collect because they got to pay exorbitant dowries for their sons to get married to somebody. So you got chicks in villages with exorbitant dowry requests, and they ain't nothing. Worthless. In such bad shape, they should have to pay dowries to marry the men. But that's what's going on in the villages over there. And we think China is some example of a superpower to which we should look up. For the nuck, it's not. The US is not. China's not. Russia's not. Black folks are not going to find examples of overall the comprehensive examples of how to behave in other groups. They ain't got their stuff together. Nobody does. But China, because women are spoiled for choice, has these problems. And they've been having them for about as long as the States. These attitudes are now spreading into places outside of China and in other languages. The women here are getting the information about how to be feminist and be difficult and be mean and all of this. They're getting this information in Arabic and in English. The men here are learning reactions slowly, resistance slowly, and they do have it. They know about male feminists, and they understand that male feminists are trying to win women's approval. They don't fully understand that doesn't work. They know it's there, and they don't honor those men, but they don't realize that doesn't work. That's something we know. We know that if you're a man and you're trying to be a male feminist, women are really not going to respect you. And sexually, you are their last choice. We know that. But they don't know that over here yet. They know that men won't respect you. They don't realize that the women won't either. You can't talk to women about them having rights and not about having responsibilities. You got to talk to them about rights and responsibilities in a sense of justice and fairness in order for them to understand and for men to understand that you don't believe in anyone oppressing anyone else. But this is not a joke here. This is not, there's no playing around here. If these men here are acting the way that I told you that my student act, the way that he acted on Wednesday, it's not a simple mistake. That was stupid. He knew better and he did it anyway. And I think he was trying to distract me so that some other students could cheat. And then another student comes in, and then when I give him the feedback from his essay on Thursday, he has done almost everything right. But then he argues with me when I have to tell him what he still has to fix. Yeah, mister, no, don't talk to me in English, nigga. It's instructor black. He's always fighting the urge to speak in Arabic during an English class. I gotta be an English language chauvinist around this nigga. And tell him, boy, you don't push these boundaries with me. It's English, not English, not Niglibic, not Niglish either. And when I tell you that you gotta fix something, stop giving me excuses and reasons and arguments, nigga. Do what the hell I told you. Because if another professor is called in to mark your essay instead of me, they don't know that you've improved a lot. They won't know this. All they're going to do is run it through AI because they ain't going to do it themselves. I do both. But they'll just run it through AI and then pretend like they co-graded it along with AI. That's what they'll do. And you're going to get a bad grade. No points for anything that you've improved. Do what the hell I told you. Stop arguing. What I'm telling you is that if these men are acting like this, later on when they start to have their own manosphere and they want us to back them up because we have experience with this, do you think they deserve our help? They don't. Could they deserve it next generation? Yes, they could. They're changing now. They absolutely could. Even academically, they're changing. But do they currently, right now, as they are at this point, those that are adults right now, do they deserve our help when the family dynamics are changing? No, because they drove this. It doesn't mean we should support their women against them either, because their women would be making right decisions for the wrong reasons. I know. And women they just don't want to listen to these men. There are going to be times these men hear right and these women don't want to listen. But I can understand why they doubt these men's leadership, because they got brothers and they know. Sometimes these women cheat, but not nearly as bad as their brothers do. These women know what they're doing to hold their own family members back. These women understand. When these ladies are in university age, just like their brothers, and their classes let out early, they will call their brothers and interrupt their brothers who were also in class, whose classes did not let out early. I know, because it's sitting in my class. And if he does not answer the phone, they just keep calling and keep calling and keep calling and keep calling until he answers. And I'll tell them, turn your damn phone off. I can't. That's my sister. Nigga, I don't fib a guck. Nigga, I don't care what the reason is. If you answer the phone, you're absent. They'll go ahead and answer and just take the absence. And all she's calling for is, come pick me up. My class let out early. Well, nigga, his class didn't let out early. What are you doing interrupting him? They don't care about their brothers. I mean, they may love him, but they don't care about the future. They're not thinking about the future and the balance and stuff like that. Not at all. You let a family have one son and a bunch of daughters, and the dad has to go out of the country to work, or he even stays put. That father and that son are run ragged running errands for these women, even in a country in which the women can drive. Why? Because what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the time they don't have to do these other things, so that they can work on their careers just to not have to listen to men later, and so they can hire each other. They want to make it such that the men will not be able to get jobs. That's what they're looking to do. And it is very silent and it is very stealthy, but that is what their efforts are. How do I know? Some of them told the Western lady professors that teach them, and those Western lady professors told us in teachers' meetings. That's how it leaked. Now, that has not hit the mainstream awareness level here yet, but it's there. The men do understand that more and more HR departments of companies are being increasingly staffed by women, and more of them have to be interviewed for jobs by more and more women. And they realize that these women are more interested in hiring more women than them. They do realize that, but they don't understand the big picture, and I don't blame them. But what I tell them is, when you come to my class and I tell you, do not answer your phone during my class time, and don't speak in Arabic even to each other during my class time, I'm doing it to help your stupid behinds. You're short-sighted. You don't understand your own sisters are playing you. Even if they love you, they're playing you. Some of you don't understand that your own sisters don't want you getting married until they get married. What's the reason? Because they want to make sure that you never have a responsibility of a wife and children to take away from you being at their beck and call. I'm not joking. Some of them sit up and they discuss stuff like this. Some of them sit up and say that they don't even want to marry a man that has sisters, but they're somebody's sister, because they don't want the husband to be called by his sisters to go and help out his sister. He's married now. He should ignore his sisters, drop his mother. These women are increasingly selfish, and they're selfish not about you, but about your resources and your time. I had a student last spring. This kid almost never showed up for class. Almost never. I dropped this nigga. He reached 20% absence. That's the limit. I dropped his butt. Oh, of course, the next day he showed up. And I was like, didn't you check your email? No. Well, you're dropped. You're not a student anymore. Well, what do I do to get back in? Nigga, you don't. You don't try to get back in. You're dropped for a reason. You didn't show up. Now you show up the day after you've been dropped? Nigga, you a problem. And I got to get back in here and teach them. I don't have time to talk about this. Later, he and I both met with the chair of the department. You know, this guy started talking about, please look at me like your son. I have sister, and my father, he is work outside. I was like, my father, he is work. I taught you not to use my father and the pronoun he together, and I taught you not to use the verb be with another verb after that. Oh, that's right. You weren't there that day. That's not my fault, though. And your sisters, what the hell, man? Nigga, do you think we care about how many sisters you have and how often they're calling you to come and give them rides and drive them here and drive them there? If they cared about you, they would tell you go to class. What does it tell you that they never tell you go to class and we'll drive each other or we'll catch a Uber? What does it tell you that they never say this, but they know that your father paid 8,000 US dollars for you to have this semester? What does that tell you? It tells you they don't care and you fell for it. These guys mean well, but they're not thinking analytically. That's why there's a Quranic verse that tells men that sometimes your own wives and children are enemies to you. Because what do they want? They want stuff and provision. And what do you have to do? You have to be righteous and honest. And those two don't always go together. Why do people cut corners and become unrighteous and dishonest? To get more stuff. In less time and with less effort. So there are wives here that pretty much say, I will never tell my husband to be honest and to be righteous if it means I don't get the stuff I want, especially if it means we don't get the food we want. I'll never tell him that. If he has to cheat to make it, he better cheat. I'm not going without a damn thing. There are women with that attitude, not just here, everywhere you go. There are women with the attitude of, I don't give a rat's behind about my brother's education and his future, even though I don't have to have an education to get married and he does. I don't care. I'm going to interrupt his education every chance I get. Every time I need something, screw his class, screw his job, screw everything. I'm going to call him and call him and call him until he picks up the phone. I mean, if I have to call too many times, I'm going to cuss him the F out and then go run and tell mom and dad that he's ignoring me and he's not there for me. And I'm going to do that so that they'll beat his behind. And then I'll get my education and I'll get my jobs and my career. And then I won't need a man. Or I can sit up and say, well, I'm not going to marry this man because he doesn't make enough. Meanwhile, my brother's going to be running ragged, never finishing anything and never being able to get married. And I don't care. Because if he never marries, that's more support for me, even though I'm supposed to be strong and independent, don't need no man. That's over here. And these men are not sitting up and thinking enough ahead to tell their sisters and their daughters, you got to shuck up. You're at a girls' college. You're at a girls' campus. If your class lets out early, there's more time to study for another class. Do not interrupt your brother from his studies and don't interrupt me from my job because you're impatient. Or you got free time, take your butt to the girls' library and study. Stop playing with us. If you really are serious, you'll increase your skill level. And these women are serious about that. They want to be good at what they do for the most part. That's true. I'm not saying they always are. But one of the reasons why the men here are so far behind what the games are is not only because a lot of the explanations from us are happening in English or Portuguese, because there's a red pill wear community in Brazil too. But it is also because of the way that the men are. And if these men start sitting up and saying, well, we would like your help and your insight and your wisdom and your assistance, the reason to say no to them is not going to be because they're not black. I mean, that's what some of us are going to say. Well, they ain't FBA. They ain't even B. Okay, well, that it's true that most of them aren't, and none of them are FBA by definition, but still, that's not the reason why. The reason is going to be because when you try to tell them stuff, they don't listen. You can't educate them anyway. You can't help them because they're hard to teach. And they're very short-sighted. Their women play the long game better than the men do. That's the reason why. You will only know this if you do what the cuss word it is that I told us we need to do from before. Start learning about other people's cultures from some of those men and really getting to know these men so that they will tell you the truth about what's going on in their culture, the good and the bad. Then you will know who to help and who not to help. But understand that if you don't do this, the misandrist, the third wave feminist, The anti-natalists, all of them are going to succeed in spreading their propaganda regardless of language. Because I already told you they will go somewhere that you like to go, learn the local language, and spread the propaganda. They will use Google Translate if they can't learn the language. They're going to do whatever the F they can do to spread the propaganda to ruin whatever destination it is to which you think you can go and find a stable marriage. Even if all you're looking for is a stable relationship, like what Richie Mack has with L. Even if that's all you're looking for, ain't got nothing to do with no marriage. They're going to try to ruin that. So when you start looking for a stable marriage, which is noble, they definitely will. They will have already ruined that from beforehand. That's what they're looking for. And they're doing it and they're succeeding. Who's stopping them? Nothing is stopping them from doing it. Nothing at all. What happens when they make the breakthrough of going into an environment in which nobody chooses to live? And they still are able to convince even those women who need their men to start acting like they don't need them. And doing what Esther Villar warned us in her book that the ladies are going to do. What happens then at that point? Have you stopped to consider that? Now, do you get it? You're sitting up and you're saying, oh man, it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal. Be good. Be glad. Be thankful that this movie, this miniseries Adolescence came out, but also be aware that it did not get the full picture. And also be aware of what it is I told you in one of my reviews of Adolescence, that the character Jamie Miller was not in the trouble he was in because of the manosphere being there. He was in the trouble he was in because he didn't go deep enough into the awareness of it. That's why. Because had he gone deeper into the rabbit hole of the awareness, he would have realized that he would have realized that we would tell anybody, you do not throw your life and your freedom away behind committing a violent crime against any of these women. He would have realized that that would not have been the thing to do. And as a matter of fact, you don't go and offer to take some torn down woman to a fair or something like that to make them feel better because they're down and out because they've been done wrong by some dude that was a Chad to them. That's not when you do that. That what you do is you make your life without anybody else as comfortable as you can possibly make it. And then later on, you simply lock them out and you give them nothing. And with any woman you do let in, you let in on your terms and not theirs, even the good women. No. These are my terms because I accept that I have these responsibilities as a man. That's fair. But that means I have these rights as well. You coming in on my terms because I'm the one that's got to pay the cost to be the boss. I might as well be the boss. I'm not going to pay your bills and then turn around and obey you. What you want me to do? Pay or obey? If I pay, you obey. And if you pay, you still don't even want me to obey. So which arrangement's going to work better? The character of Jamie Miller would have understood that. That was, I don't think it was intentionally placed in there. The guy who played Jamie Miller's father was also he was one of the co-creators of that miniseries of Adolescence. So he was not, he said in an interview that he wasn't trying to promote a red pill awareness. He was trying to promote an awareness of what's going on between the genders. Well, why do you have to have a red pill awareness in which the men are discussing what the women are like? It's because the women won't come out and tell you. By the time a woman is going to be open and be honest enough to tell any male relative of hers a damn thing about how women really think and feel, he's already been exposed to lying ass propaganda from cartoons at the very least. Cartoons will put propaganda in their head. Oh no, we like guys that are sensitive. No, the F you don't. You don't like guys at all, really. I mean, there's not a guy you like except whoever you see other chicks like. Or maybe a guy just looks the right way and you don't really care what he's like at that point. That's what it is. Be honest about it. What are the first things these guys need to know? The character Jamie Miller represents what happens. He represents the anger at the deception. That anger that you saw was someone who'd been lied to probably from 6 or 7 and then reached the age of 13 and at 12 and 13 had begun to learn that he'd been lied to before and finally blew up in a rage. And all these ladies in his life, and even quite a few of the guys, want to sit up and just ignore what the hell it is that he's actually learning. And he realizes they've seen this stuff too, and they didn't have the decency to tell him, but they let someone else lie to him. And see, one of the things that shows up is that the father in that movie with that van, there was a plumber, had to face the fact that the van was vandalized on his birthday of all days, and he didn't know what he was going to be able to do about that. What does he do about that van being vandalized? He cannot afford what it takes to take the word nonce off of that, off the whole thing. It's nothing he can do that he can afford to do. So he's just screwed. The kids that did this, they felt comfortable writing this on his van and passing by in front of other neighbors and taunting him about this. That was a joke to them. They felt comfortable doing this. But when he went to the store to buy the paint, the guy that supported him had to lower his voice to tell him. No, I think it is a good thing that now the men can sit up and say, hold up, hold up. We're not with uh, misogynistic violence. We never were. But hold up. We do know that there have been a bunch of lies and women wanted us to believe these lies. We do know that Esther Villar did not lie when she told us that women were lying, that they were playing helpless and playing incapable in many cases so that men would do the heavy lifting and not even get the support from women that was fair to get. Even if men do the heavy lifting naturally, but they would not get the support it was fair for them to get for them to get from women. This way the women could simply sit up and say, you need to be able to lift more. That's not heavy enough. That is something that goes on. What Esther Villar talked about is something that goes on even in traditional societies where we love the women because of the way that they generally respect men. If you're not going to get your butt out there, gentlemen, and befriend and get to know some men from other cultures and find out with the time that it takes to learn this stuff, what is good and what is bad, what works and what does not work in these men's cultures, then when men do start to try to work out how they're going to cooperate with each other, well behind, way behind the cooperation that these women are going to have already established with each other. We won't even know who to help and who not to in order to send a message to the others. We will sit up here and for the wrong reasons, maybe even decide not to help somebody, rightfully so. Because when their generations change, then we'll still say, well, we're not going to help them because of some other reason that made no difference. See, if we sit up and say, well, we're not going to help men from Saudi when they start to fight this stuff. We're not going to help them because they ain't FBA. They're not like us. If we're going to say that, what happens when the next age group comes along and they're not like the nonsense, they're not like the dunces that came before them. They're not like the idiots that are Johnny come latelys that you can't tell anything to constructively right now. See, then the right decision for one age group, we will then apply wrongly to the next age group for the wrong reasons. Is that what we want to do? Are you trying to delineate? Or are you trying to alienate allies and even turn neutral parties into enemies? How far are we trying to go with this? Because I can tell you now, the average Saudi is not an enemy to our people. They're just not right now. The average Saudi man is not capable of being an enemy nor an ally because not because they're dumb, but because they're just hard headed. They stubborn. They think they know stuff they don't know. And they're short sighted because they're actually too much like these stereotypes we have had about ourselves for a long time. The younger ones right now, they're in their early teens, aren't like that. What happens in a few years when they're now university students? Then are you going to apply the same thing to them? They ain't the same. Some of these young cats, some of them are now university students and they're already thinking ahead and they're like, look, I'm starting this company to do this thing for the future. I'm starting this company that's going to teach AI, but we're only going to teach it to citizens first. So that when it comes to these jobs where there's actually some employment stability right now, some job security right now, we're going to prioritize our own nationality for this. We got some that are thinking that far ahead. And I know because I've had some of them tell me, I can't hire you to teach anything because we're only going to hire citizens in the meantime. And I was like, okay, bet. You know someone that can make me a citizen? But that's how they're thinking. When you have the next age group to come up in the next 5 years, and they enter into these universities, and the universities are actually pretty much full of that particular age group with that more progressive mindset that can learn and teach, are you going to sit up here and assume that they're just as closed minded? If I'm sitting up here telling you that I up close can see the difference, the way to avoid these errors is to learn right now the nuance that we need to learn that nuance right from other cuss word now, not reactively, but right now, proactively, to learn that nuance. And you don't really need me to tell you how to do it. To be honest with you, it's not me that you need teaching you about this nuance. You can learn this nuance on your own without me saying a mother cuss word thing. You're just hard headed. Let that be a lesson to you, too. So much potential in us. We just overlook certain things. We get too caught up in certain trends, and we need to cut that mess out. They're not like us. Of course they're not. They're not supposed to be. I don't want them trying to be like us in some ways. In other ways, they are. Sometimes they're too much like us. And you'll find the same thing in some other groups too. I mean, come on. Rural China, in the countryside, you got single moms who don't know who the dad is. That's worse than us. And families got the nerve to sit up here and talk about how much of a dowry you need to pay to marry this fine woman. Man, F you. You bang stitch. If a man is sitting, that's what happens when men make all the approaches and initiate everything that the women want. And the women sit up and refuse to initiate anything that the men want. She done initiated some sex somewhere with several dudes, got a baby out of it, don't know which one is the dad, but you're supposed to go to her house and initiate marriage so that they can sit back and charge you a dowry. No, if men sit back and say, man, shuck this fit. Not doing that. We'll fast. Won't even eat enough to maintain a libido that would be that damn pressing, and see how much value they have when it comes to anything else in life. Outside of that, then what happens? Okay, no approaches. The women gonna start complaining about not being approached. That's a good sign. What do? Keep on not approaching. Now they've got to come to you to try to get what they want. That's the way it should be. I know what I said sounds stupid and sounds cowardly. No, it's just fair. Even in traditional society sometimes, because it doesn't always work. If the man has certain responsibilities, then there's authority that goes with that. And even if he's got responsibilities and authority, if the women are surrounded by male relatives who do not want these men exercising authority over their daughters and over their sisters, but still want these men taking responsibility, okay, you know what? You go out and find that man then. You want a man that's going to treat your daughter or your sister right. That makes sense. That's perfectly fine. Is your sister and your daughter going to treat that man right? If she will, then what you want is reasonable. That's great. But how do you get this message across? It's real simple. More and more guys start saying, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not showing up so that I can try to impress somebody to say, okay, fine, you can take care of her bills for the rest of both of your lifespan, your mutual lifespan left over. Enough men, even in traditional societies, that's another thing we have a right to do. We have a right to go into places where there's tradition and there's so-called balance, and it's been a particular way for however many thousands of years, and nobody complain, and still say, hold up, gentlemen, if what's going on inside the homes of your married friends is not satisfactory to them, then don't you make that same mistake. Is it on you to pay all these bills? Yes, fair enough. Is it on you to protect? Yes, okay, fair enough. This is not wrong in and of itself. Now, how authoritative are you allowed to be when the two of you have a disagreement? About 70%. But you got to pay 100% of the bills and protect 100% of the time. Okay, so since her dad and her brother are there to limit your authority to about 70%, then this is what we do. Don't ask for marriage. Eventually, the men will start asking you, why aren't you married? Because it's my job to do all of this, which is fine. But then when it's my job to lead, I got to be checked. What the hell for? Ain't no question when it's time to go and get the money. That's on me. Ain't no question when somebody wants to take something away from the house or harm someone in the house. It's my job to defend. Even if they're armed with 2 AK-47s and all I got is a hunting rifle and a knife, it's still my job. Okay, fine. Well, when it is my job to lead and I know enough information to make a final decision, I'm supposed to sit there and have this back and forth discussion with her because she wants something different. She wants something right now, and I got to choose between right now and later, but can't have both. Why would I initiate that? Are you raised? Why am I not married? Because you all are not telling your sisters and your daughters what their responsibilities and what my rights are. That's why I'm not married. And I'm not going to ask anybody until somebody has told his daughter what my rights as well as her responsibilities are, in addition to what I already know they're going to tell her, which is the reverse. And she's good looking. That's how. Can you have a cute daughter that you love very much and still not spoil her when it comes to men, but rather raise her to be a fair and just wife to a fair and just husband? Can you do that? If you can't, fit the guck out of my face. Don't ask me why I ain't married. Matter of fact, if marriage is going to be all this extra weight, but we don't have as many rights as Shahid Bolson says that we don't have, then why would we initiate? Foot the walk fork. No, convince me. Shahid Bolson said this. Well, actually, men's rights in Islam are not that many. There aren't that very many rights, but there are all of these responsibilities. Okay, Mr. Bolson. So since you're implying that God really wasn't that fair, even though that's not what you mean to imply, and I'm not saying you committed blasphemy. Like I said, Shahid Bolson is not trying to commit blasphemy. Like I said previously at one point, I thought the same way. Of course, I was married to an American at that time. But if that's what it really is, okay, then why should I show up at somebody's house talking about, can I marry your daughter? Oh, dad's not here. Can I marry your sister? What do you need to know so I can make sure I make the cut? Why should I show up for that? All the responsibilities are mine and the rights are very few and far between. Nigga, what? Who do you think you're talking to? And they got the nerve to ask me at the masjid, well, why are you not married? What are you going to do? Come looking for me a wife? I'm willing to listen in if that's the case. But right now, the dynamic, the expectation is, because the women have manipulated men so much, even in traditional societies, and thinking that they need stuff that they don't. Now the idea is, okay, well, I'm supposed to show up and offer to do all this in exchange for so little, but I'm supposed to initiate this. What is she going to initiate? And then later, the only thing she initiates are things that are expensive, and then maybe a divorce if she doesn't get her way often enough, which she's not going to because she's materialistic and God has naturally limited the availability of anything that's valuable. So much so that value and limited availability go together. Do you not see what you're asking? Yeah, it's bad, man. It is insane. The expectations are just nuts. And if anything, we need to be sitting up here even telling men in traditional societies, you got to balance, and that's a good thing. But is that balance fair enough to you? Maybe it is. Depends on which tradition it is. But you still got to at least question it. We should be telling traditional men in societies where they're not being mistreated by women, are you still being treated well enough for the responsibilities you got to take and the weight you got on your shoulders? Not Boom, Chic, and Bon Quisha and Karen and Becky and Amber sitting up and going into societies that are pretty well developed, a little bit less traditional, and then telling these women, what has he done for you lately? And you're not going to know which one is which until you start befriending some guys that ain't like us and learning from them and teaching them too. I told you, distinction is necessary, but division can really be unnecessary. And this is one of the prices of unnecessary division we are going to pay. That's why it's taken me 45 minutes to get this through through some of your dense skulls. Think you can crip walk from one side to one side of a stage to another singing "They Not Like Us" and that's some sort of accomplishment for our people. No, that's something that you say to people that actually don't even have a particular mindset. I could sit up and tell you that these guys here ain't like us because we're willing to think and be forward thinking and actually acquire skills they're not willing to acquire. We're willing to think ahead in ways that these guys are not. They're capable, but they're not. That's why I could sit up and say they're not like us. Not because I hate them. I don't. I just don't want you to take that bad habit from them. But we don't sit up here and use that as a reason to go and push away anybody, regardless of race. Just push them back right off the bat because of a lineage or a heritage they did not inherit and it wasn't their choice to, and then turn around and start missing out on information that we need. Did y'all know how bad it was in the countryside in China? I don't blame you if no one came to you and told you. I blame you because you didn't ask. If someone lied to you, you asked and someone lied, okay, fine. Maybe you asked someone and they only told you what they knew, then fine, you made the effort. But how many of us have even thought to try to find out what it is that other groups are actually doing right and wrong, just to get a better snapshot of it so that we don't start making false assumptions and start operating off of these false assumptions? How many of us have done this? I'll wait. I got more hairs on my head than there are those of you raising your hands right now, and I'm completely bald. And that's what we're lacking. Go on ahead. Start asking. Maybe you work with that cat from Korean origin. If you're able to have peaceable conversations with him, learn something. Teach a little bit as a tidbit and learn something. And you'd be shocked when people don't realize you're doing it. You can throw out a little bit of information, a little bit of insight that's not even harmful to your own folks. You could dispel a misconception and then turn around and get so much information back from them. And you think you can't because you think, well, they don't discuss their business like that. It depends. But you'd be shocked how much you can learn. You'd be surprised. Give it a shot, because believe you me, this is how men in general are going to be able to start cooperating, so that these misandrists and these third wave feminists are going to start feeling frustrated in their efforts to spread hypermaterialism, misandry, third wave feminism, antinatalism, paternity fraud. I hope this helps. Sorry it took so long, but anything for your benefit. Thank you for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out, Assalamu Alaikum, Black Heterosexual, non-select male power, because they don't like it in Black Patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.